And I'm here for your hair. Oh, I love it. Okay, hey everybody. I just finished a workout and then came in and my internet is wonky. So you're on my phone, which is not really what I wanted, but anyways, we're gonna make it work. Okay, I'm gonna move somewhat quickly because this topic is like we all know if you were here for the vagina monologues, which was what, maybe a year ago, that was like a 3-part series and we had like 2-hour calls. So women's health is something we could talk on for hours and hours, literally. So I'm trying to simplify it down and just kind of talk to you guys tonight more about like what your cycle is actually telling you and how to use those clues to know kind of which direction you need to go and maybe how you can better serve your body and different systems in your body. This topic is super near and dear to me because I was in the camp of believing that our periods were just supposed to be miserable and Midol and Tylenol and chocolate and curling up in bed and taking naps were just kind of supposed to be part of a woman's life, right? So I didn't know anything about the phases of my cycle or what was going on in my body. I knew it had to do with getting pregnant, but I didn't know much else. And like I sat through what the elementary, do you guys remember? I'm sure they still do it, but like that 6th grade class where they took us to the library and like talked to us about what was happening in our bodies. And then I think we had to do it again in middle school. And so I don't know. I don't know if it's the generation or what, but if you were in that camp where you just didn't really understand and you thought that this was normal, you are in good company. And I was that person. I was extremely anemic and had some other chronic illnesses. So when I had my first menses, I had my first cycle at age 12, I actually bled for like 16, 17 days. And I was so extremely anemic that finally, around like day 14, I was like, mom, like, I don't like, am I dying? Like, what is this supposed to happen? And so anyways, my first experience was horrible. And then I proceeded to, obviously got some of that under control, but I proceeded to have horrible, horrible cycles, doubled over, puking, headaches for most of my early or all of my adolescence and a lot of my early adult life. And so when I found out that number one, that's common but not normal, and number two, that there was many, many options to address that and bring that full circle and calm it down, I was thrilled. And then as I dove into like how to heal and how to understand, I realized that most women that I met anyways, were in that same camp of just not having horrible experiences, and 2, just not understanding. Like, we just don't talk about it enough. I feel like it's being talked about more now than ever. So anyways, if you fall into that and you want to jump in the chat and just give it a like, yep, that was me, I would love to hear from you. And I think it makes everybody feel better to know that they're not alone in this. Okay, so really quick, let's go through the phases just so we have an understanding of what's actually happening in our body, and then we'll break down some symptoms. So we have like menses, which is when you're bleeding, day 1 through 5-ish. Everybody's a little bit different. So I'm using those terms lightly. And while you want to be able to follow along and kind of track things, if you don't fall right in that area, that's fine. Everybody's body is different. So day 1 to 5, your uterus lining is shedding if you're not pregnant. And that's when we're having our period, right? And so number 2 is you kind of go into the follicular stage around days 6 to 14. And that's when your estrogen is going to go up. So if you've heard me ever talk about hormones, you know that I talk about estrogen and progesterone being sisters and how they kind of piggyback off each other through the month. And then you've got testosterone and some other hormones hanging out in there too that really help support them. So during the follicular stage, your estrogen is going to go up, and that spike in estrogen is there to thicken the lining of your uterus so that it can get prepared to be pregnant. And it's called the follicular stage because your FSH, which is your follicular stimulating hormone, is released, which causes follicles in the ovaries to actually grow and mature so that a mature egg can be released and so that you have a healthy egg to be fertilized and become a fetus. And then you go into ovulation. So a lot of women, when they go into ovulation, are going to see like the thick, stringy discharge. You're going to get a big increase in your energy. And you go into your luteal phase. This is like days 15 to 28. This is when your egg is released. And the reason you get that big increase in energy and stuff is your progesterone goes up, your sex drive is going to go up, your libido is going to go up, because this is when the body's like, okay, let's make a baby. So that progesterone goes up to prepare for pregnancy. If you don't get pregnant and the egg does not get fertilized, then your estrogen and progesterone are going to take a big drop. And they do that because you don't need the progesterone to hold the pregnancy, and the estrogen is going to drop so that lining of your uterus can thin out again, and you can have your period, and you can shed that lining and everything that's in there and kind of detox all that out, for lack of better words, clean it all out. And then you start the cycle over again. Okay. So kind of as we go through tonight, you can be thinking about, if you didn't ever understand, that's the really layman terms of what's happening with your cycle. But if you didn't understand, but you find yourself going through the month and being like, gosh, like a week before my period, I always feel like this. And man, when I'm ovulating, I'm just like raring to go in life. You can actually, and it's highly suggested that if you can kind of manipulate your life and your schedule around what's happening with your cycle, you can oftentimes get better results in life and how you feel. Like obviously when your body is cleaning out, is a good time for rest. And when you are pumped with energy and like feeling very creative and your body's ready to create life, that's a good time for you to, maybe start a new project or do the things that are going to take a lot of energy from you. So you can kind of get to know your body and what it's trying to tell you based off knowing what's happening with your cycle. And if you look at, like, go Google it, but if you go look at, cycle syncing, if you go look at a cycle and kind of print it off and just sort of follow it through the next 3 or 4 months, or you can download a tracker app and sort of see what's happening. There's a million of them out there, you guys. Then you can start to line up your moods with what's happening within your body. And then it will just start to make sense. And then you can adjust however you want. I'm not really here to like preach on cycle syncing a ton, but it's something that's like worth taking note of so that you can let your cycle serve you, basically. So it goes with what we're talking about. So I needed to at least mention it. Okay. So let me make sure that I'm following here. I'm already like way ahead in my notes. This is sort of a topic I already know about, but if I don't have notes, you guys know I'll squirrel off. Okay. When we're on our period, let's talk about what's happening in the other systems in the body and what they can tell you. So when you're on your period, your body's using energy that it did not need when you are not on your cycle, when you're not bleeding, right? So when we bleed, like I told you, that uterine lining is shedding out, the body's doing some work, and you are really like going through like a detox. And since that doesn't happen when that lining's thickening or when you're starting to ovulate, it is going to use energy that it wasn't using before. That energy is system function. Oh, now my internet's going to work. Lovely. It just popped up on me. Energy that is for system function. It's kind of like a bank account. Okay. So you have like a bank account of credits in your body, of like energy credits, and you either have good credit or you have bad credit, right? So we want good credit within our body when the cycle comes around. So in between your menses is when you're going to build your credit. That's when your credit score can get better. You don't want to do it when you're menstruating. All right. That's that rest period. And you don't want to be trying to build up your credits when things are not comfortable. It's kind of like that prevention instead of reaction. When we think about our wellness, it's the same thing with your period. You really, really want to be doing preventative work when you're not bleeding so that you are prepared for that week and your body can optimize it to its fullest. All right. So if you continue to have like digestive issues, or you're having migraines, or you're having really negative side effects or negative issues with your wellness, either when you're bleeding or all of the time, then it is a very good sign that you have bad credit and you need to start picking up the credits in your bank account. All right. The system is struggling. It had to give energy when it was menstruating, and now it lacks So basically you go into like a deficit. It lacks enough credits to keep functioning. So if we already have bad credit, which is where most women are, especially due to, like xenoestrogens and environmental toxins, which we've talked about a lot on here. So we're already walking through life exposed to so many things that are basically like draining our bank account. And then we have our period and our body goes, okay, I need to pull energy for this activity, and there's none to pull from, then we're going to pull whatever we have, right? So if we're using energy to digest our food, then we're going to pull from that system so that we can menstruate. And when we pull from that system, not only is our menstruating system lacking because we didn't have credits, but now we're pulling energy from our digestive system. So now we're constipated. And so now we have inflammation in the uterus that shouldn't be there through our period. We're having cramping, and we're constipated, and our digestive system is not working properly because we pulled energy from it, and now it's lacking in credits, and we're not absorbing nutrients the way we need to. And that's going to affect the next system, like your detox pathways, your liver, your spleen, your kidneys. And so you can kind of see how bad credit turns into insufficient funds in your bank account real quick like. And so you want to go back and build those credits when you are not menstruating. Okay. And all of this ties back to how you will heal the negative symptoms during your period. Okay, so like digestion, can't absorb your nutrients, can't move your toxins when if you're having digestive issues, and we can talk about more of this when we kind of go underground, but that's where you want to pull in your Ninja Red, your multigreens, your Life 9, enzymes like crazy. So in between, like if you notice this being an issue, when you're not menstruating is when you really want to be loading up with those nutrients. Obviously you want to continue that through your menstruation, but you don't want to wait until like, oh, I'm on my period now, and all of a sudden things are uncomfortable. I think this week I will load up on extra nutrients. Like that's not the time to do it. Okay, if you have like migraines, your boobs get really sore, your major mood swings, cramps, maybe you have the swollen lymph nodes, acne, lots of breakouts. This is like your liver and your detox pathways. And those get clogged up in that, and we take from that energy system and make it negative. And then we start to have these symptoms associated with our periods. So like I said, migraines, boobs, moods, cramps, lymph nodes, lots of acne. Okay, those are your detox pathways. And so you get like a two-part here, like that system is like deficient. It doesn't have the credits it needs. And so now you're having all these other symptoms around your period because your body's using too much energy to do what it should just normally be able to do. And then when your detox pathways are clogged, obviously it tries to come out your skin, it tries to come out other pores, your lymphatic system, which is your garbage disposal of your body, is getting backed up. And that's where you start to see these symptoms. So I know for me growing up, it was like, oh, this symptom is here because I have a period. No, we have to change that thought process. The symptom is here because the body is lacking somewhere, and it's lacking somewhere because it needs energy to have a period. So it's not the period's fault. It's this everything is a balance and a big cycle and circle in the body. And if we start really thinking that way and working backwards, that's where you get that map for the root cause wellness, which is what we want. We want to go to the root. We want to rebuild at the very, very core at a foundational level. And that's when you start checking off these like chronic things that someone may have told you you'll deal with forever, or that we think are normal. Okay. It's crazy too, because you think about the detox pathways being clogged. And so what's on there, like migraines, sore boobs, your moods, your cramps, acne, things that don't feel good and cause pain. And in our society, we take painkillers like Tylenol and other over-the-counter things for our periods when we are uncomfortable. Well, you know what those things do? They screw up your detox pathways, and they rob from your liver, and they mess up your glutathione. And so these things that we have in society that tend to ease the pain are actually contributing to that root issue. And then the root issue gets more and more messed up, and we get so far from being able to map, because there's so many things going on. It's really hard to like trace that back to what the root is, that we don't want to be masking our symptoms. So when you start down this path of like mapping back to like what system is lacking in credits, as to why my periods are so hard, you're going to really want to just buckle down and remove the things that can be roadblocks for you, because you want a visual and you want to be able to hear your body to the best of its ability. All right. So like anxious, fatigued, can't sleep. Sometimes you're super tired and you still can't sleep, like kind of an insomnia type thing. Or maybe you go to sleep and then you wake up in the middle of the night and you have like an hour or two of wake and you're just like, you're awake. And then you need to go back to sleep. That's your adrenals. That's your overtaxed adrenals that are not getting enough of a break. That's where you want to, oh, and we can talk about liver, but we've talked about it a million times. Sulfurzyme, any product that starts with Juva Flex, juniper over the liver, lemon in your water, KMB tincture is great. But anyways, back to your adrenals. That's where you're looking at lots and lots of water. So we want lots of flushing, and then we want lots of rehydrating. And you guys, water alone is not going to rehydrate you. Water alone will, Sarah Loveland with her great comments. Water alone will flush you. And that's wonderful, especially if you are moving your lymphatic system and you're opening up your detox pathways. You want to flush, but you've got to rehydrate, and you need salt and minerals and electrolytes. Okay. And so you don't want just water, but water to flush. And then you've got to rehydrate with minerals and electrolytes and good stuff like that. Mineral Essence is amazing. There's lots of really clean, electrolyte powders on the market. I'm blank on the brand I was going to tell you guys about. Amino Wise from Young Living. That's what I have right here. It's incredible. I love it. I'm going to tell you about this in a minute, but this supplement was like the surprise supplement that changed my life and changed my period. Endogize is amazing. Endoflex is amazing. Not Liquid IV. I'm actually not a fan of Liquid IV because they have a lot of sugar. There's another one. You want one that's sugar-free. It's like Relight or something like that. Maybe Relight. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Okay. Yeah, you get on that, Sarah Loveland. It's one that's completely sugar-free. And ideally you would want, let's just say, like, let's try to stay away from the sugar, especially when we're talking about our, periods, because we'll talk about that in just a second. Well, I guess I can go ahead and add it in. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. So if I say it twice, that's all right. If you are having cravings, if you're craving sugar, if you're craving chocolate, if you're craving sweets, that's a sign that you're actually mineral deficient. Newsflash, we are all mineral deficient, and we run a lifestyle that promotes mineral deficiency because we need minerals for so many things. And you guys know I harp on that all day long. So if you are having sugar cravings, you don't want to obviously use like a electrolyte powder that's full of sugar, because we don't want to feed those cravings. What we want to do is give the body exactly what it needs, and then the cravings will go away. I was a sugar monster, loved my sweets, and I am to a spot in my life now where I do not crave them. I can say no to them. And when I do have them, I like 1 or 2 bites is good. And usually 1 or 2 bites, and I'm like, oh, like I could have done without that. Oh yeah, LMNT, that's good. Yep. I was gonna say, I have a few in my counter. And I think the LMNT has the chocolate one, and I got the salted chocolate one for my daughter. It's pretty good. Like I just add it to her chocolate smoothies, and I'll put it in with like the Pure Protein Complete. And then my kids drink Amino Wise also. Okay. Let me get back here and make sure I'm not missing anything. You guys are blowing up the chat. Since I'm on my phone, I can't see every comment. So I'll go back and look. Somebody just unmute and holler at me if I'm missing something important. Okay, so let's talk about normal, because we talked about what's common, but what's common is not normal, and we know that. So normal would be that your cycle is roughly 28 days. Like I said to start with, not everyone has to be right at 28 days, but you can get to a spot, and we are supposed to be at a spot where we can track our cycles like almost to the hour, and I'm finally there. It's taken me a very long time. I turned 40 this year, or I guess like technically next year. In the spring, I'll be 40. And it's taken me that long to heal and fully understand what's happening in my body. And I can hear everything that my body's telling me. I can tell, like, before I get into a mess, I can tell, oh, I need a progesterone boost, or, oh, I need this. And so it's very, very possible, but it takes time. And I spent, most of my life getting into a pretty bad state with my period. So if you, spent your whole life on, I did birth control for well over a decade, you guys, because when I went in after that first period and I had bled for 17 days, the first thing they did was put me on birth control as a 12-year-old. And I'm not here to talk about birth control tonight, but I basically had done everything the wrong way to understand my body. So I needed to give myself time to detox that out and have my body start working again properly. So here's what hormones do. They are chemical messengers in the body. And when we put things in the body that confuse those, or we put things like synthetics in the body that replace those, they stop talking, they stop messaging. And so for you to activate those messengers again, is going to take time. So my biggest stress to you would just to be patient and not stop, keep going. 4 kids and my entire adult lifehood. And I'm just finally in the past, probably 4 years, just where I'm at that spot where my period does not bother me if I don't track it. If I didn't track it and didn't know what my cycle looked like, I would not even know it was happening. No cravings, none of the stuff that I grew up with, and a very predictable cycle that I feel like communicates very well with me to what my body is doing. So it's possible and it's out there. And if you were in really bad shape, or you are in really bad shape, you can turn it around. Okay, so 28 days, you're looking at roughly 4 days of bleeding, 1 really heavy day where you're soaking 1 tampon pad or cup every 4 hours. And yes, heavy bleeding is a telltale sign of other things. No cramping, no spotting. Spotting is usually a sign that there's something missing or something deficient, I should say. Around day 14ish, you should have that ovulation, and no PMS symptoms. So let me get on my soapbox for just a second. Do we all know what PMS stands for? Does anybody know? Someone type it in if you know. Because I don't know about you, but PMS was something that was sold to me as being just part of life. Yeah, okay, Brianna, thank you. Do you see that last word she typed? It says syndrome. Do we know that syndrome is not a normal thing that we all carry around? Syndrome is something that you deal with, that you have, that you can address usually, okay? But instead, we are just that PMS term, are you PMSing? It's been joked about, it's been labeled as just something all women deal with. I think if you Google it, it'll even say most women deal with it, there's no cure. That's a typical Google response. Okay, if you stop and think about I think about my daughter, because I'm raising my child. She'll be menstruating soon. She's coming up on 12 years old. If I think about someone, if you were to go to the doctor, or you had something wrong with your child or even yourself, and they told you had a syndrome, but they didn't tell you what it was, you would be like, wait, what? And you would start asking questions, right? And you would start doing research, unless they said, well, your syndrome is PMS. And then the majority of us would be like, oh yeah, that's just something we deal with as women. I'm telling you, it is not normal and it is not okay. And there is a quote unquote cure. There is a treatment to it. And so I don't know, I get mama bear when I'm and nobody's telling my daughter that she's got a syndrome that she cannot address or deal with. Okay. All right. So let me go over this stuff really quickly. And then we'll talk about spotting and heavy bleeding and all that. I know that's a big one for quite a few of you who, when I told you I was doing this topic, you were like, are you going to talk about this? Let's talk about emotions really quickly, because there are serious emotions tied to our female parts in our body. So if you are having issues, we're going to go over some tips and tricks tonight, and nutrition is huge, but please do not forget your emotions. Okay. So many of us have had some sort of I don't want to blanket the term, but trauma or emotional disruption, I guess would be a better word, that has to do with our womanhood, whether it has been not being respected, or major sexual abuse, or maybe it was not a peaceful birth. If you guys didn't know that if you have a traumatic birth, it actually registers in the body as sexual abuse, because it's in your sexual reproductive area. So anyways, it could be a million things that's stored in your body that is contributing to your period not being peaceful or normal, and that emotions need to be dealt with. And we know that essential oils are one of the quickest ways to access the limbic system and rewire neural pathways in your brain. So you can use the oils, and you can use other avenues to really deal with emotions. But if you are not moving the needle, I would highly suggest that you dig into some emotional roots. Food, you may need to eliminate some things for a little while, and you can bring things back in, especially stuff that's contributing to gut health. So that could be wheat, grains, sugar, mainstream dairy, things like that that we've talked about before. Okay. I guess we go underground. We can talk more about all the different supplements. Okay, let's talk about spotting really quick. Brown spotting to start with. If you have brown starting to start at the beginning of your period, that usually is dictated to low progesterone. That's where your Pro Plus is really going to come in handy. Progessence Plus Serum. I don't have a bottle in here with me. And my pro tip, which you've probably seen me talk about before, is when you are having, you have really low progesterone, is grab your Progessence Plus Serum and then order Vitex. Vitex is an herb that is phenomenal, that works really, really well with Pro Plus, that it's going to increase your progesterone quickly. All right, now most supplements and herbs that you are going to use for your hormones are short term. You do not want to use them for, like a year. We're talking 4 to 8 weeks, because what you want to do is get into the system, and you want to boost up those chemical messengers that I talked about, because we want our body sending the right messengers, but we do not want to replace them, except Pro Plus. Yes, Sarah Loveland, you are so smart. Pro Plus is wild yam. And so it's just not the same the way that it works. Dr. Dan Purser created it. You can go and see he wrote an entire basically book on this Progessence Plus Serum, but it's wild yam with vitamin E, cedarwood, some other oils. And it is one that you can use daily if you need to help maintain the progesterone. A lot of us run progesterone deficient or low because of environmental toxins. But if you are going to add in like Vitex, there's a couple of, let's see, like PD8020 is a Young Living supplement. I think like Cortistop, maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, Endogize. You don't want to be taking those all the time. Like you want to do your 4 to 8 weeks. I think a few of them talk about specifically on the bottle when you should stop them. And you want to do that cycle, and you want to help boost the natural body's messengers up, and then you want to back off and just support with Endoflex and Pro Plus and Clary Sage, those oils that are very supportive to proper progesterone, endocrine system, estradiol, estrogen promoters. And when it's like a promoter, that means it's not replacing, it's just encouraging the body to do what it's supposed to. Vitex is Vitex, you spelled it right. Okay, heavy bleeding, clots, filling up like tons and tons of pads, tampons, your cup is overflowing. That's elevated estrogen. That's when your diet is usually poor, your liver is not well, and the liver is going to pour over into the spleen and the gallbladder. And the liver can't move the estrogen. And so that's why you hear us talk a lot about liver damage with xenoestrogens, is because they get in the body and they look like estrogen. Side note, if you're new here, xenoestrogens come from your synthetic fragrances, your laundry detergent, your candles, your perfume. It's in your makeup, your lotions, your soap. So you want to go and look for synthetic fragrances, and you want those out. They wreak havoc on your hormones, and they are probably jacking your period to 10 million ways. So yeah, that just means that your liver is not able to move the estrogen out, whether it is synthetic estrogen, like the xenoestrogens that the body sees as an estrogen, or it's actual estrogen. And so when it can't process it out, it dumps it back into the bloodstream. When it's dumped back into the bloodstream, our chemical messengers, which run through the bloodstream, are like, whoa, 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 whoa. It looks like you need estrogen. It looks like we want to pump estrogen to thicken that uterine wall, but it looks like we have a whole bunch of it, but it's like old and not good estrogen. And so then the body's like, I don't know what to do. And this is where all of these fertility issues that our young girls have come into play. So yeah, you need to clean up the liver. And microplastics are huge, you guys. Plastics are everywhere. So don't heat your food in plastic. Try not to drink from plastic water bottles. Go get you, it doesn't have to be a Stanley, but like go get a Yeti or a Stanley or a Hydro Flask or whatever. Just a good cup that's not full of plastic, and drink your water and stuff out of that. And then cleanse. We need to be cleansing. Unfortunately, we live in a society where we have to supplement and we have to cleanse, because we are constantly bombarded with microplastics and xenoestrogens and all the other crap that's in the air that we're breathing. I'll tell you this. I said that I was going to give you guys a little secret, like you work on one thing and it'll probably help you balance and clean up all of your hormones, and that is your liver. And if you know me at all, you already knew I was going to say that because I talk about the liver all the time. But you guys, the root of almost every health issue lies in the liver. Like even healing your gut your liver has to be addressed. But so much miscommunication happens when the liver is clogged with our hormones that that deficient, insufficient bank account that I talked about can really root down to the liver. So you start cleaning up your liver and supporting it, and you will start seeing a much more clear roadmap to where you need to be focusing for your hormones. All right, if you're having a short light period, I know everyone's like, what? I want that. I'll take one of those. But that is not a good sign. A short light period actually can be a sign that you are not cleaning things out appropriately. And if you especially are wanting to get pregnant, then you want, anytime you don't get pregnant, you want all that lining cleaned out, and you want a fresh environment for a new egg to drop and be very, very viable. And you want that lining to be thick and strong to hold a really nice, healthy pregnancy. So short light periods are not always great. And if you aren't wanting to get pregnant and you're still having short light periods, still not good, because if you're not cleaning out, that means that your body's holding on to tissue that doesn't need to be there. And you don't want that. That's going to back up to all sorts of things. A lot of migraines can be tied back to short periods that are not fully cleaning out, and then we're holding on to tissues that have dead stuff and hormones in them that we don't need in the body. It's kind of like if you didn't go to the bathroom very well. How short are we talking? It's hard for me to say just because everyone else is different. I mean, your ideal period is 4 days with 1 day of heavy bleeding. So if you are short and light and you're not getting at least one good day of heavy bleeding, like sometimes I'll have a 3-day period, but I always have at least one good day that's like I'm clearly cleaning out. You want to be soaking that tampon pad or cup in 4 hours. So that's kind of what like good heavy bleeding, not heavy like a lot of you are dealing with, where it's like you're changing a tampon every 30 minutes. Okay, so the not cleaning out would be a sign of low estrogen, and it would be nutrient deficient and adrenal burnout. So that's what you're looking at. You're not absorbing your nutrients, your estrogen's too low, and you have adrenal burnout. So like literally with adrenal burnout, we know that our adrenals dictate fight, flight, or freeze. And that's like when we're crashing in the afternoon and we're exhausted, that's a sign of adrenal turnout. Your adrenals sit on top of your kidneys and they put out cortisol, and they're there for you. Like if a bear is chasing you, like they're going to put out cortisol so that your body will stop digesting or stop doing other things so that you can focus on survival. But we run in survival mode all the time. And so adrenal burnout would mean that you don't even have enough energy for your body to have a period. And so your adrenals are pumping out cortisol saying like, don't have a period, because why do we have periods? So that we can get pregnant, right? And if your body's in fight, flight, freeze, and you're in survival mode, then your body is sending signals that you are not in a position to carry a baby. And so it's going to say, don't have a period, because this body can't have a baby, can't carry a baby. So low estrogen, nutrients deficient, you're going to need lots and lots of minerals, and you want to clean up your diet heavily. Lots of Ningxia Red would be great here. And really, really supporting those adrenals. So there's the adrenal cocktail. Somebody can type that into the chat. That'd be awesome. 5 drops of Juvaflex, nutmeg, and Endoflex. I'm sorry, the adrenal capsule. That's what I just said. Adrenal cocktail is Mineral Essence, Ningxia Nitro, and Ningxia Red. If somebody wants to type that recipe, they can. You're going to want all your adrenal oils, energy, nutmeg, and then your estrogen increaser, or your estrogen promoter, like I mentioned, is going to be clary sage, lady scleral. What's the other one? I just went blank. Lady scleral, clary sage.
Sclerosis.
Yes. Woo-hoo. Teamwork. I was like, it just lost me. And then really, really focus in on your micronutrients, which is going to be, you can go get a micronutrient panel, which is a blood work panel where it's going to tell you exactly what you're deficient in, but you're going to be looking at like your vitamin D, C, B, glutathione, L-glutamine, just basically across the board. So that's where Ningxia Red's really going to serve you. Master Formula would really serve you. You're going to want to get like good baseline nutrients across the board. And then get outside and get some morning sunshine. because that's really going to help you. Your pituitary and your pineal play a big role in this. So making sure those are supported and you're getting proper sleep. So you can do like cedarwood right here and get out and close your eyes and look at them at the sunlight in the morning. It's really, those are like super inexpensive, easy things to do. Cocktail is pregnancy safe. Yes, I did not do the cocktail when I was pregnant, but man, I wish I did. Nitro has some natural occurring caffeine, but it's not, I mean, like you can drink coffee and a cup of crappy coffee, which a lot of pregnant women do, and the nitro is not going to touch what that's giving you. Okay, if you're having multiple cycles, like within that 28-day period, hi, I've been there, I'll share my story in a minute, or you're having no cycles, either one, right? That's a sign that your thyroid is sluggish, or you are maybe headed into perimenopause. But a lot of us have these symptoms way before, like it was like 2 or 3 years ago when this happened. I was way too young to be headed into perimenopause. And so if you're having those symptoms, which I feel like we lower the bar on what the appropriate age is for that all the time, because we're at a spot where mainstream is just like, well, there's all these women having these symptoms. So instead of talking about the root issue, let's just say that there's a new age, a new bar, right? That's not okay. So yeah, sluggish thyroid, and progesterone. So going back up there to that Vitex and your Pro Plus, okay? Thyromin, Ningxia Red, Mineral Essence, Nitro, like that adrenal cocktail is extremely supportive to your thyroid. Thyromin is a phenomenal supplement. That's great for your thyroid. Take it at night for your thyroid, right before you go to bed. Take it in the morning for your adrenals. And yes, you can do both. That's kind of up to you. All right, that's what I got. I wanted to throw all that at you because I know we just talked about a bunch of different things, and then I wanted us to be able to discuss. So if you guys want, if you have questions, just start shooting them out at me and we can talk more about the things. I'll tell you my story really quick before I turn it over, since I still have the floor. I already told you, I healed my gut, and I started basically every chronic issue I had was completely under control, but I still had some pretty hard periods. And after I had my second child, I went back to some pretty miserable. At least that first day I was home and not wanting to leave. Everything felt really heavy, sometimes nausea, headache. Anyways, fast forward, and I made a boob roller, and I'm happy to share this recipe. When I stop talking, I can go look it up. But I made a boob roller to support my breast tissue, like an anti-cancerous type, just supporting healthy glands around the breast. And it had some really amazing oils that were like anti-tumoral, anti-cancerous, and then most of those oils are also very balancing to women's hormones. And so I was rubbing that on every day,